Good afternoon, welcome to the UK Column Live. It's the 5th of February 2013 and myself and Brian Gerrish are here in Plymouth as always. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and Michael Robinson, of course,
Mike's here.
hiding behind the technical equipment.
Yes, bless him. What's the weather doing, Brian?
Well, the weather's been a bit unpredictable. In fact, we had, so speaking from Plymouth, England, we had some really severe hailstorms overnight, complete with thunder, which is quite unusual. At the moment, some blue sky, some very heavy clouds, bitterly cold southwest wind. It's all a bit English, really.
Cold.
Cold. But we're still here, still alive, still kicking.
We're starting with Mike today. Mike's leading the show with his first story.
Well, he might be. Yeah, according to Press TV, who are highlighting an article from, I believe, the New York Times, the United States has decided that it's not just drone attacks, which mean that they can subvert other people's sovereignty, but now it's computers as well. So Obama is saying that, suggesting that he has limitless power to start cyber wars, and they're saying that basically, if you think that you are going to, if they think that you're going to launch a so-called cyber attack on them in the future, they can just go ahead and attack you ahead of time without so much as a leave. So they don't need to wait for you to actually commit a crime anymore. They will
judge that you have thought about it.
Might think about it, and maybe you'll do it at some point in the future. So what this says to me is that perhaps they're a little concerned about some commentating websites, blogs, and that sort of thing going off to jurisdictions where they don't actually have control, and maybe they're a bit concerned about that.
Well, I would guess they're also a little bit concerned that criticism and comments that are coming in from across the globe are too close to the truth. That's what really hurts, isn't it?
It's a bit like pre-crime, isn't it? So what's that film? Minority Report.
Is it?
Yeah, pre-crime.
Well, we're just going to stick with telling the truth as we know it, and if that's hurting the other side, then they're just going to have to put up with it. So what's been happening with Jimmy Savile? There's some breaking news today, I think.
I just flicked onto the Evening Standard a couple of hours ago. Apparently a 65-year-old man has been arrested in South London linked to Jimmy Savile and others. But so far 589 people have come forward with information relating to the scandal, with 450 of them alleging they were sexually abused by Savile. Of those making the complaints about him, 73% were children at the time of the offences. We've got no names or any other information as of yet as to who the 65-year-old man in South London is, but as soon as it's released we'll obviously let you know.
And of course the key thing is we're really hearing very, very little to almost nothing about connections of these rings into Westminster to politicians and other members of the political elite. So at the moment, I suppose we are fingers crossed waiting to see whether the good policemen and women in this country are actually going to do their job and help to root out some of these people, or they're going to be cowed into silence by, of course, the government's recent attack on the police for speaking out. So if you didn't see our news yesterday, I recommend that you at least watch the first 2 minutes in which we posted a very, very direct and truthful statement by the Mail warning about a vicious state clampdown on free speech and free media. So something nasty. The UK column, of course, has been warning and warning and warning about what's happening. And one of the subjects that we focused on was what was happening in Sheffield. Some very brave people in Sheffield have been speaking out about the fraud and corruption there, which has been going on a massive scale. The government has previously worked with OLAF, the European Union Fraud Investigation Unit, bit of an oxymoron really, but despite the best efforts of a number of very, very brave and active locals in the Sheffield area, the fraud and corruption has gone on. So if you want to read more about the background to that in detail, have a look at that UK column article. But of course, Sheffield is thoroughly in the news, but not reported surprisingly mainstream at the moment, due to the fact that it's been revealed that a few days ago, Capita, which is this wonderful company here, thank you, issued some 5,000 summons to people who were supposedly had not paid their council tax. Now, the incredible thing about this story is it ended up with thousands of these people having to go to the magistrates' court because they were warned if they didn't turn up, they would be found guilty in their absence. It's now turned out that the whole thing was a terrible mistake. But we're going to look at this in a little bit more detail because there's something a lot more sinister going on than is even being reported by the Sheffield Star. Now, we did contact Capita, and this is the press statement that we got back from them. We're aware of a situation which requires further investigation and are working with the necessary parties to resolve this as required. So that's Capita's bit of newspeak. And then they go on to say, although we're unable to comment on this situation until the investigation is complete, please be advised that customers with council tax arrears will have typically received a bill and at least 2 reminders requesting them to make contact to arrange payment or to update a change of their circumstances, which may be relevant to their case. Now, it seemed to us that this was Capita attempting to throw the blame back on the members of the public. And let's be very clear about this, as Tony Blair says, that these people have been accused of effectively being criminals. They've wasted their time in order to turn up at court. And the company behind it all is under the leadership of Chief Executive Officer Paul Pinder. And he's quoted on their little video on the site. I recommend you go and see it because it's quite excruciating. He says all the senior people in Capita treat colleagues and clients with a huge degree of respect. It's a great shame that he doesn't treat the local citizens of Sheffield with the same respect. He's made some other comments. This is blowing up really the Capita image. We've been serving private and public sectors in the UK since the 1980s. We built an organisation characterised by innovation and commitment. We have a strong track record in transforming services and saving costs, delivering value for clients, investors and for our stakeholders. Of course, he does not mention ordinary people living in Sheffield because we would say he doesn't care. They are simply the cash cow. So let's have a look at what this company's really involved in. They're running DVLA at the moment under a 5-year contract to manage vehicle tax. That's worth a cool 100 million. They're also running TV licensing, a contract worth 560 million. And of course the UK column Live revealed a few days ago that the TV licensing were actually bullying us because they think we should have a license even though we don't have any televisions. They've been selected as the strategic partner of Sheffield City Council. That's another 200 million. They're also working with Birmingham City Council and Harrow Council and Cumbria County Council. And they're also working with insurance, and they're also involved with the Criminal Records Bureau. So what we really see is public services being outsourced to a massive organisation which has its fingers in many pies, and this organisation's now become so arrogant it thinks that it can issue court summonses.
Nice, isn't it?
What have you found on
the Sheffield Star? I'm just looking through the comments on an article in the Sheffield Star with regards to the council tax. Interesting couple of comments from somebody known as Fraggle69. Sheffield Council cannot legally issue a summons. Only a court of law can do that. If you have received one of these documents printed by Capita and it says summons or has the royal seal on the top, it's a forgery, not sent out by court service, isn't it? Yeah. It has not been given a case number by a court of law, nor has it been signed by either a judge or clerk to the court. This fraudulent grab of power to scare you into believing this is a legal document would warrant your complaining to HMCS and the council that this sort of corporate greed will not go unnoticed or unpunished. The council and Capita have no legal basis for forging court documents. All the best people, don't worry, get even. And then he continues to say, forgot to say, the forging of court documents is also a police matter. In future, check the court has issued your summons. The summons should have the Royal Crown on the top page, a case number and a wet signature at the bottom, signed by either a judge or a clerk who issued the summons. Beware of councils printing court documents. It's what they have been doing for years illegally. So,
there's a final response.
I think there's one more response from
Comrade
Dorr. He's saying, thanks for the info. You may remember a few years ago the Director of Legal Services left suddenly with a hefty cheque and gagging order in her purse. That was after more serious legal threats were made to people who could not possibly have known what you have stated. This shows that the intimidation of tax-paying citizens continues to be standard operating procedure. Sheffield City Council management are truly disgusting and morally corrupt, along with their political paymasters. But, as many have pointed, they are untouchable, they know it, and they abuse their power, but hey, you get what you vote for. Fair play on the Sheffield staff for keeping that up, because I'm sure many newspapers would have
taken it down.
Exactly.
That's absolutely right. Well, we're just a couple more bits. Here's Capita Chief Mr. Pindar. It was reported in the Independent some time ago that he was having to sell shares as part of a divorce settlement. But in it, he also said, he was quoted as saying that perhaps Mr. Pindar is best known for rejecting suggestions that he was a fat cat by telling staff he was only on £14,500 a week.
A week?
I'll just repeat that, £14,500 a week. That's what this man is paid, and we've got a Labour-controlled Sheffield City Council. Labour, so think about Mr. Miliband and the Miliband brothers. What is this Labour Council doing while it's helping Mr. Pindar with his £14,500 a week salary? Well, Sheffield City Council is busy axing hundreds of jobs. So here we can see sheer hypocrisy again, of course, by the Labour Party, who are clearly facilitating wealthy fat cats who think that they can issue court summonses. If anybody wants more information on that story, please feel free to contact us. And also, I'd recommend that you get in touch with teams in Sheffield, and Martin Brighton is one of the very brave individuals who's been fighting fraud and corruption in that city for some years. What's happening on the vaccine scene then?
Oh, well, apparently there's been a new vaccine developed for TB.
If it was TV, it would be quite good, isn't it? If we could receive a vaccine so that we wouldn't be affected by TV.
No, but this, apparently the only existing vaccine at the moment is the BCG, and that was created 90 years ago. But apparently it doesn't prevent the pulmonary TB. And this new vaccine has shown to do little to protect children. TB kills about 1.4 million people around the world each year. The new vaccine MVA85A was developed by British researchers, and apparently it did show positive results in stimulating high levels of the immune response in adults during early trials. But apparently scientists spoke of their disappointment after it's not doing so well with the first trials on children. So yet another vaccine.
Does that mean when your trials don't work on children that you end up with some damaged children, but not to worry?
Yeah, not to worry, no,
not to worry.
Exactly.
And we've got another pill here for girls,
this is terrible. Yeah, it's girls who've been going to the doctors for acne have been prescribed a drug called Dianet. It's given to 62,000 women in this country, and it's usually to treat ovarian syndrome and a hormonal problem. It's apparently the UK have brought up the concerns after recent deaths of several young women, and it's made by the German pharmaceutical company UK since 1987, but it's only been licensed apparently to treat severe acne and facial hair. But apparently it's actually it's a contraceptive. It's an oral contraceptive over in France. And 62,000 women apparently each year get this medication, and the warning signs are blood clotting, including pain, swelling, tenderness in the leg and warm and red skin. So this has now been pulled off the market, but it's scary that 62,000 women have been taking this tablet.
Yeah, so we've tried it out, and actually it's damaged a few thousand people, so we'll pull it off.
Well, it's killed a few
right, so,
people.
and who's being brought to account over this at the moment?
Absolutely nobody at the moment. The European Medicines Agency are conducting a safety review.
Right, okay. Keep watching the vaccines.
Watching it, exactly.
And Big Brother, you've got here to log your drinking habits.
Yeah.
And waist size.
And your waist size, and your cholesterol, and your BMI, your family health history, and your pulse rate. GPs are going to be forced to reveal the amount of alcohol and smoking that their patients have. And it's part of this new health service programme called Everyone Counts. Apparently the officials, all your information is going to go to one place and have a big database on everybody with regards to all these issues, weight, etc. And the GPs will be required to send monthly updates on all of their patients to a central database run by the NHS Health and Social Care Information Centre. The HSCIC will store the data and link it only when approved and necessary, ensuring that patient confidentiality is taken care of.
Right, and you've done a little bit of work into that. Did a little
bit of research into this HSCIC, and just one of the gentlemen looks. Well, there's no information on him. All we know is his name is John Varlow, and he joined HSCIC in March of 2010, and he took up the interim post of Executive Director of the Information Services on the 1st of July 2011.
Right. Well, I think he's done quite a lot of work with the European Union. He's been across to America. So there's a global flavour to the background of this data collection. And also, I believe some of the senior executives
all linked
got linked to
Leeds
accountancy firms, to Leeds and Leeds University, and also such wonderful organisations as IBM. So are we happy to have our data farmed in this way? Well, we don't think so.
No.
We decided to take a look today at what the Conservatives are up to, and we took a visit to their site, where you come across this very shiny and attractive picture, where the Conservatives are claiming that record numbers of people are starting apprenticeships. And if you follow this story through, you come to this page where the news story is a record number of people are starting apprenticeships, and they claim that some 520,000 youngsters, a record, are now able to take up on apprenticeships. We were a little bit suspicious. What did you discover on this, Mike?
So there's the graph showing how the number of apprenticeships that have been created in the last several years has grown, up from 239,900 in 2008 to 520,600 in 2011-12. The problem is that if we actually dig a bit deeper into the figures, it turns out that in fact the new apprenticeships for under-19s has fallen just at exactly the time that apprenticeships are most needed. Because if you remember, we reported a couple of days ago, the slides are in the wrong order, that can you go to the one with it doesn't matter. We reported a couple of days ago that the rate of growth of youth unemployment in the UK is the highest in all the G8 countries, and that only Spain and Greece are worse. But the other point that's on this particular slide is showing apprenticeship success rates. So in other words, this is the percentage of people that completed an apprenticeship and then got a job as a result. And what we can see is that in 2011, if we look at people that are on the higher grade of apprenticeships, so these are the highest standard of apprenticeships, that in 2010, 2011, 72% of people, or sorry, 84% of people got jobs as a result of their apprenticeships, but in 2011, 2012, only 72%. So that's quite a fall. Let's see the next one then.
This is we can run back.
Right. So no, that's okay. So this is looking at industry sector. Basically, the thing I wanted to highlight here was that. Engineering and manufacturing only accounts for 11% of all the apprenticeships created. Right, next one, please. And let's just have a quick reminder of the minimum wage for apprentices. You know, this says it all, really. people on apprenticeships are entitled to £2.65 an hour. Now, the apprenticeships website claims that on average people earn quite a bit more than that, but the evidence that I've speaking to people that have children or are aware of children that are teenagers that are on apprenticeships are saying that in general it's not too much different from that £2.65. So you know, it would be nice to see. You know, when we have the fastest growing rate of youth unemployment, with the exception of Spain and Greece, in the whole of Europe, it would be nice to see the government doing a bit more to promote decent apprenticeships.
The government, of course, is doing what it wants to do, which is to destroy the country, and therefore you want to destroy education, and you want to make sure that there are no jobs for young people. But that statistic for me of £2.65 an hour, whilst we've got both the Labour government and the Conservatives that are actually promoting companies such as Capita, where somebody's earning £14,500 a week. So, you know, to say that there is a difference between Labour and Conservatives and Lib Dems is clearly nonsense, as we're going to show in a minute. These people are working together. I'm
sure I saw an article about it's the ideal time for the over 50s to work is now, because companies are lapping bringing in the over 50s apparently.
I would say that's propaganda to help people get used to the idea they're going to work until they drop, unless you're a member of the elite. What about youth unemployment, Mike?
That was the one.
Oh, that was the one. Okay, all right. Well, we also decided we'd have a look at the Labour, just to see what they're doing. And of course, here we've got the complete nonsense that the Labour Party is trying to say, well, all of this problem has been caused by Tory policies. So never mind that we've seen the country destroyed under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown and the gold reserves sold off. Here is the pathetic propaganda that it's the whole fault of the Tories. And we need to include the Lib Dems in this, because here's their website, and they're boasting that they've now achieved a pension of £144 a week, which is simple, decent state pension. And I just think the hypocrisy from Nick Clegg in particular, who's a millionaire, he simply doesn't know, or I think more likely just doesn't care what's actually happening to ordinary people. We'll just make sure that we can see what this man's doing. Here he is top left with his Spanish barrister wife, so a few more £100,000 coming into the coffers there. But what are the Lib Dems up to? Well, they're already starting the campaign to try and lower the voting age to 16, and it's our opinion that that is being done in order to try and make sure that any vote on Europe can be skewed in as pro-European manner as possible. So very, very cynical politics by very wealthy Lib Dems. And of course the Lib Dems are in the firing line at the moment, because dear old Mr. Huhne has come unstuck, as he's finally been caught lying, perverting the course of justice. Sorry.
His son's not very happy with him at the moment either, apparently.
The son isn't, but this...
His son, yeah.
Well, his son, no. There was texts emerged in the court battle where he was basically accusing his father of lying and forcing his mother to do things which he didn't want to with regard to this case. The key point is, if we have a look at some of the language of the Mirror here, it is incredible. They are saying, well, we're going to give them credit for this because they've referred to the condemn leaders. So we've now got the Conservatives and the Lib Dems together as the condemn party, which is pretty realistic. But let's look at the rest of the language very quickly. They're talking about people ending up buried under car parks. They're talking about a murderous affair, 2 tribes going to war. They're talking about bad blood. They're talking about a terrifying nightmare. And here it's sort of saying Tory MPs resent Lib Dems siding with Labour on boundary changes. So very emotive, aggressive language. And what are they trying to do? Are they trying to make themselves a target so Mr. Leveson can come in and say this is unacceptable? But the real lie, actually, of what's going on emerged in that article. This is it, basically, because it said that when Cameron and Clegg were leaving a public meeting in a boots factory in Nottingham during March 2011, the Lib Dem leader forgot his TV mic was still on, and he said, if we keep doing this, we won't find anything to bloody disagree on in the bloody TV debate. And of course, what we are seeing here is that really Cameron and Clegg are joined at the hip, and their policies are decided behind closed doors. Meanwhile, publicly, we have this puppet show that we actually have division between the two of them. So, Mirror, we're not quite sure what you're up to here, but at least you've actually highlighted the sheer hypocrisy of this so-called party system. And we just like to point out that we've got Chris Huhne, Lib Dem Privy Council member, who's been perverting the course of justice. So our question is, how many more criminals are still in Westminster? Well, perhaps we should point out that, of course, Nick Clegg is using David Laws to create the Lib Dem manifesto, and yet Mr. Laws is the man who had to stand down due to the fact he fiddled his expenses. Fiddling your expenses, I believe, is a sort of parliamentary term for what most people would call
fraud.
Well, absolutely.
And theft.
And we're going to end on the subject of smart meters.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is over in America. It's from the Chicago Tribune, I think, originally, this article. But police are now accompanying crews to install smart meters at homes that previously sent away the installers. 2 women of the town of Naperville were arrested for not allowing the installers into their home, and they interfered with the installation progress, apparently. Naperville has installed 57,000 homes with smart meters. Officials said the project will make the electric system more reliable and efficient and reduce costs. Now, if you don't know too much about smart meters, I'd urge people to have a look at stopsmartmeters.co.uk. This could happen in this country because they're full in force of installing these smart meters. It's started to happen, exactly. Yeah. And there is a big campaign going on at the moment with Stop Smart Meters UK for people just to get behind and say, no, we don't want this because it's very dangerous to people's health. Plus, it's the whole security things. They can monitor what you're watching on telly. It can do all sorts. All the appliances talk to each other. So we were going to show a slide here, but unfortunately we've got a small hitch. Okay. Yeah, Mike from stopsmartmeters.co.uk, he will be coming on the show very soon, and he's actually on my show on Monday. So. Okay, so we'll tell you more about that, and it's clearly a system that at the moment the establishment is pushing very hard to get these meters into your homes. Yeah, and yes, as Brian said, if you're liking what we're doing and want us to continue, if you could tell your friends, subscribe to the UK column, and we're actually not going to be here next week, are we? No, we have got to the point where we need to produce a UK column. The only way we can do this is to actually shut down TV for a week. We're sorry we have to do this, but it's capacity. And for those of you that are champing at the bit to get a UK column, we will be getting that paper out as soon as possible. So offline next week and back the week after. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.